I had a vision. I wanted to be really successful and I wanted freedom to do what I want when I want with who I want, but I didn't know how. But I took the first step, and it's like every step I took, the next like stone appeared for me to step on, and I just kept going.
People have so many lists of things that they want to do, and like none of it gets done.
I did it. So like I understand it's hard, but like
You do.
you choose your suffering. You suffer now or you suffer in the future.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the On Track with Annie podcast. We're here with Charlie, fitness entrepreneur and guru at online sales and marketing. That's what I like to call you, at least, but you can introduce yourself another way. So tell me about how you got started first with fitness and with your career.
Very interesting. I didn't have a background like many people did. I came from a background of being overweight when I was maybe 17, 18. I got in reasonable shape, became a qualified personal trainer, basically failed at that. Then went and became a ski instructor for 6 months. Really, really enjoyed that.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was wicked. And then came back, and then I was like, what am I doing with my life? I need to sort myself out. So I got a job in real estate. So my original background is actually real estate, where I learned sales, managing teams, marketing, operations.
Wow.
All things now that like real superpowers that I have that probably gave me a big advantage that I didn't realize at the time. And maybe after 6-7 years of like managing a branch for real estate agents, I then set up my own online fitness business. Like I was going through my own transformation, starting to do like photo shoots and get in really good shape. And then I basically did the 3 steps I teach people, which is basically you have the skill, I knew how to get people in good shape. I then documented and showed what I was doing, got traffic. And then third, basically asked people to help them. And then through that period, we set up CJ Coaching, Charlie Johnson Fitness, one of the biggest fitness companies in the world with about 1,300 active clients. And then 2 years ago, I set up 7-Figure Scaling Systems, which is basically helping other entrepreneurs turn their passion into profit and basically create freedom for themselves doing what they love, which has really been my life mission to like do what I want when I want with who I want. Like actually, funny enough, like not to cut you off, but funny enough, we're here in Miami and I was supposed to be flying out of Miami tonight, and I just said to you, like, I've extended for another week because it's the whole thing is like, fuck, I can do what I want, so I can stay here for another week if I want.
Yeah, so you live in Dubai. You're originally from London. That's the context here. So when did you stop real estate? How many years ago is this?
I left my full-time job 25th February 2019. So it's not that long ago.
This is recent. So this is the thing, like online sales, I think everyone is realizing now as of 2-3 years ago is like, you have to do it. Like whatever business you have, you got to have it online, social media page, try to get clients through there or market it through there. And it's more difficult than I think people realize. And you kind of simplify it. So what do you think is the main thing? Because I know first it's like having a niche, but I think the issue is some people maybe are too broad. Do you think it's important to have like almost like a niche within a niche?
I actually think almost what you said, you need to be broader to begin with, and then your niche will find you. And I think I would think a framework people should think about is, people think about how do I do this, is think who, not how. So like, how do I become the person that can do this? So say, for example, if you want to help ladies in their 30s, for example, it helps them to be a woman and get in really good shape and then showcase that and live that lifestyle. Because you want to be the attractive character at the start of the journey that people buy into, because that's like, you're going to be their North Star that like they lean towards. They're like, I want to do everything Annie does. I want to know what she eats. I want to know what she trains. I want to know where in Miami she goes. I want to know what restaurant she goes to, because that's what people want. They want someone to look up to who like inspires them. So I say firstly is like, be the attractive character. And like that doesn't mean you have to be an elite level athlete or be some type of superstar. It might just mean that you're the superstar to the person who you're talking to. So it might be that if you've lost, you see guys, for example, who go from 400 pounds to like 250 pounds. That could be you being a superstar for someone who's 400 pounds. And I think that's where you'll find as you start your business, certain people will start to gravitate towards you. So the more you can see that, the number one skill in business most people don't look at, which is really interesting, is pattern recognition. And that's, I think, a natural talent some entrepreneurs have, the skill of noticing patterns of like, okay, this is working, let's do more of this. Whereas some people are a bit oblivious or have like cognitive bias, that they believe everything that they've come up with is a good idea, so they see it all the way through, rather than like pattern recognition of like, this idea I had that was really good, maybe it's not that good. This thing over here that I tried is starting to work, so maybe we go and pivot. Does that make sense? Like
they overthink it a little bit too much sometimes?
Yeah, and they're too married to their ideas that like, I said I'm going to be a fat loss coach, helps get our guys get abs, so like that has to be what I do. Whereas like, but all the clients who come into you are dads who are like 40 who just want to like be healthy and run around with their kids, right? It's like seeing that.
So at a certain point, you have to change things up.
Yeah, you just process of refinement rather than tweaking. And to be transparent, even like I've been doing that my own personal brand the last 12 months is like transitioning from like the jacked guy who had like bright blonde hair all the time, wearing basketball vest and content, to try and like be more of an adult, to change. And I changed as a person in that process as well, which I think is interesting for anyone listening to this, that, and you'll find that after a period of time, once you've had an online business for a while, that you'll naturally have noticed, like, I don't really want to make this type of content anymore. Like, you change and evolve as a person. And that's actually a good thing for you to show online, because your like tribe, the people who buy into you, will follow that and see your growth.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of online marketing starts with just content and having some type of face for a brand, whether it's you or whether it's someone else. And I think one of the things is people, like when you're sending someone to a product or service, people will send them to like their website or to just a specific product to buy or something to download for free. What do you think is the best way to kind of hook them in? Is it booking a call? Is it sending them to a free item?
It depends what the goal is. So the way, like one of the things we really teach is what's called our 4C method, which is creating content, to create conversations, to create calls, to create clients. I've said that so many times. So what we basically focus on is like no sale in life can start without a conversation somewhere. So either they have to message you or you have to message them. So the goal which we're doing with content is we're trying to basically like proverbially fish and dangle the carrot to get people to message you. So I personally like the method of giving away free stuff to get people to engage with you. Now, you do get a lot of people attracted to you who are like wanting free stuff, but through law of reciprocity, that you give enough value that people will then buy into you. And I'll give you a good example. I'm on a retarded mission at the moment. We're doing a daily video every single day on our business YouTube channel.
Nice.
I probably get like 3 to 5 messages a day to say like, this content's insane, it's so helpful. And I know the long compound effect of how that works, that's going to play out like massive upside for me. So one of the problems I see with most people in business is they aren't willing to be patient. They want to put one post up today and sign up 10 clients tomorrow. And it's like personal brand and content and everything is a compound effect. It's the same as like getting in shape. It's like, I don't know, I don't go to the gym this afternoon and train back and then suddenly I'm super jacked. Like it takes a period of time.
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing too with content is I feel like people are not consistent with it. And I think it is one of those things that like every day you have to be focused on it for a few hours. I mean, there's so many platforms too. And if you're trying to focus on every single one and it has to be somewhat different, you have to do so much content consistently to even get people to realize what you're even saying. So do you think it's helpful to have some sort of like content calendar for each type of thing that you do? How do you structure it?
Okay.
Seems like a lot.
So I'll ask you, how much time do you reckon a month I spend making content?
I would say daily, maybe like 3 hours a day.
I probably, here's a true story. I didn't film any content from the 29th of November to probably the 1st of January. Nothing.
Okay, so you stack it. So you film one day or something like that?
So generally what I'll do is I'll film 3-4, like I was going through a phase, I was filming like 3 podcasts in a day in a studio with people.
Damn.
And like, I think I did 4 or 5 at one point, and I was like, by the end of it, I was like, I came home and spoke to my girlfriend, I was like, I can't talk to you. I don't want to talk to anyone. Like my brain had melted. But through that process, we batch record everything. So I'll do 2 1-hour, maybe it's not even that, 2 half-an-hour filming sessions for short form content a month. And now I'm doing more filming because I'm filming a YouTube video every day. But I probably spend 3-4 hours a week on content just for YouTube. But the reason why I'm focusing more on long form, in particular for anyone who's in a B2B space, is I'm looking for leverage, because I know if I make that one video is going to be getting views and traction for the next 10 years. Whereas like, and same with podcasts, which is why I'm a massive advocate of this. Because like a 30-second reel might go viral and it'll be cool, but it's like in 3 days, no one cares.
That's why Instagram is tricky. Like TikTok, actually, I have videos from 3 years ago that are still, So that's what I was going to ask you is, what do you think are the main 3 platforms that you would focus on? You talked to me about LinkedIn too, which I thought was interesting.
So as always, it depends. What's the goal?
Okay, so if it's B2B and you're trying to sell a service to get some clients, something like that. Okay,
so if you're, as in trying to sell to another business or to like a customer?
So if it's, let's do both. Let's go B2B and then let's go business to individual to consumer.
I like this game. So it's interesting because I've had a lot of people from random businesses come work with us now. Like we had a big recruitment agency start with us this morning who wants to build a recruitment mastermind. So it depends on the industry you're in, but I would say generally if it's going to be B2B, LinkedIn is always going to be one of them. And I would suggest for everyone LinkedIn as a platform you want to use. So if you're a fitness coach, I would use LinkedIn for the sole reason if I want to make more money, then I need to charge higher prices. Where do people who have more money tend to hang out? LinkedIn. Where do not many people tend to use that platform? LinkedIn. So we do quite a lot of work on that. The other platforms the biggest one in my opinion is Instagram. Now that's easy to execute because you can message, you can outbound, like Instagram, LinkedIn, and can be like quite quick plays. I spoke about YouTube earlier. YouTube is not like I post a video and then we start booking calls tomorrow, unless you get very lucky and that video goes viral somehow. It's a long form, long-term process that you're like putting basically skin in the game that this is going to work out eventually. And we're at the point now where we get calls booked on autopilot, where people just watch a video and book a call, which is the golden point, right? Because it's on like autopilot and high leverage. So I'd say for anyone B2B, LinkedIn is must, and then probably Instagram in terms of, and it depends on your niche. If it's more female, I'd say Facebook as well. My opinion, people try and target like wealthy, successful dads as fitness coaches on Facebook. I'm like, dude, like rich guys don't use Facebook. Like it's just not going to be on. They might be on Instagram.
That's a good point.
It's true though, right?
Yeah.
Like on Instagram, they're probably like perving on women or looking at cars. And then on LinkedIn, they're using it for work. Like it's just a true story because I know this is what men do. And then, but they're not going to use Facebook. And the same thing with like YouTube, everyone will use. Like I've used it today to find out how to do something in Notion, like how to do that. Like it's the biggest search engine in the world, right? So I'd use those three. And then business to consumer depends on the audience, but it'd probably be the same, to be honest with you. It's the same platforms. TikTok has a lot of value in terms of traffic and reach. The problem can often be that the value of the person on the platform doesn't have a lot of disposable income. You get a lot of kids. And this is where people need to also change here's a true story. So my fitness YouTube channel, Charlie Johnson Fitness, if you just type on YouTube, has like 17, 18 million views. My business channel on YouTube, I think we get one video in the last month, got 1,000 views. So, and it's called Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems, so anyone wants to check it out. The business channel is making us a lot of money, of very, very few views.
That's crazy.
Because the average user earns so much and the value of what we sell is higher compared to like the B2C fitness products, whereas a lot of people are just looking for free information. So which is sometimes why the platforms vary depending on what your offer is. I would say anyone B2C as well, different platform not many people are using would actually be Snapchat. I know a lot of people doing very well with that. Some of our clients who are killing it, which is like, particularly in North America, is a big platform I would suggest people utilize.
Just kind of repurposing content on there.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the beauty, because you asked me like, how do you make all this content? It's like, use the same video on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Facebook Reels, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's the same video. So all you got to do is make the content and ship it out there, or you do long form content like podcast. You can clip, and then you make 1 hour podcast, could be 15 reels that you put across like 5-6 different platforms.
And I feel like TikTok's pretty chill too. Like you literally could just talk to the camera or do something like what you're doing, and it can do really well. So that one I feel like is the least time consuming. I would say YouTube probably the most. But when it comes to transitioning a client from, let's see, they like your content, they're messaging you, you're messaging back and forth. I know that you're really good with like, asking questions and things like that. How then do you get them to sign up for a call with you or sign up for your actual program? And you have one course, right?
We have 3 now. Okay. So we basically have our main tier program, 7-figure scaling systems. We have a beginner program for beginner trainers looking to go online. It's called Fit Pro Launch Systems. And then a program for trainers who want to get to 100K and above, which is called our CEO Mastery program, which is like invite only. And we basically, the whole goal is just to get someone to a phone call. So we do that by basically like what's quite called the gaps. It's like, okay, here you are now, here's where you want to go. How are you trying to get there? How long have you been trying to do this? This is clearly not going to work. And then also providing some value of things they don't know about. Like I mentioned Snapchat, I mentioned LinkedIn. They're like, shit, I didn't even know about this. And it's the things you don't know in life which cause you to pay a huge amount of ignorance tax. Like, it's true though, right? Like, the goal of my business, I want to get to $1 million a month this year. I'm not there yet, but it means I'm paying.
That's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it means I'm paying hundreds of thousands of dollars at the moment in ignorance tax, and it's pissing me off. But I know I will figure it out because it's a process. And you also, the more you learn, the more you earn. And the more you put your thought process into high leverage and also learning the right skills and then learning to team build, it becomes very, very easy. It's just at some point you can stack the deck in your favor. It becomes impossible for you to fail. So if you look at yourself, for example, like you're in really good shape, you're a great, like attractive character for your clients to look up to. You just need like the right path to walk, and just like the hardest part as an entrepreneur is like not getting distracted, but like, let's go and do this over here. Because that happens to me all the time. And the more you can stay on track with that, the easier it gets.
Yeah. So it's my hardest thing is having like one thing to focus on. Cause like I do nutrition, I have ebooks, I'm a running coach, strength training, like all this stuff. And so my issue is it's very spaced out, you know, FaceTime sessions in person. And so it's condensing it into one. So what do you think is the best strategy for that? If someone is very spread out.
Easy. Pick one. Like which one can make the most money the quickest? I actually had this conversation. Who was I with yesterday? I think it might be a guy called Javier Bivali yesterday. I went for dinner with him. Like really smart guy, lives in Florida. Miami. And we were talking about this yesterday. I was like, I spoke to someone else at an event like a couple of days before, had the same thing. He's got like 5 businesses, and he had like, I think he had 2 gyms, he had 3 restaurants. He wanted to do online coaching. I was like, he's like, I just don't know what to do. I was like, dude, just pick one. Like whichever one makes the most money, just do that one and just go all in that and put the others on like autopilot coast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, just get your gyms. They're pretty much like ticking over. Just let them just keep doing what they're doing and focus on the one thing you want to grow. So I'd say for you, for example, and I made this mistake, is when I first started, it was like, I want to make loads of money in ebooks, I want to do clothing, I do like these low ticket programs, like, fuck that. Just like,
so much.
You want to try and focus on the higher price things, because unless you've got billions of followers selling like ebooks and clothing, that actually slows, the money you make from that slows you down, because it stops you going to get the bigger money over here.
I feel like that just needs to be the free shit. Right?
Just give it away.
Yeah.
Like we give all of our ebooks for free. We actually have some you can buy on our website, but like if anyone asks, I'll just give them some because I don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Well, so the issue that I run into, which I kind of talked to you before, is like the thing that makes the most money would be the in-person stuff, because I have very high-paying clients that like to have that in-person vibe, and they don't really like online. But if I'm trying to transition on online without taking too much of my time, trading my time, that's where the hard part comes in. Is selling some sort of course or something like that.
And that's just structuring the offer for the person and the problem you're trying to solve. So if we look at like why you could sell higher price programs on the internet, if you look at, who would you say is the demographic of the person you would help?
I would say somewhere like 35 to 55 range.
Okay, female, I'm going to say.
And males.
Okay. My opinion, I would suggest sticking to women, because it's the biggest market in terms of online coaching. And weight loss. I also don't know anyone else other than myself in the online space who does over 100K a month of fitness coaching, who is predominantly male. They're all mainly female. Actually, no, there's one other guy I know who I only found out about this week. And so I'd really push down the female narrative. And what you'll find is that women have a very strong pain point. Like they want to get in great shape to find the partner they want to have a family with. They want to be a good mum and be in good shape so they can set a standard for their family. And when you start to speak their language, you'll really get them bought in, because it's understanding the emotional, like biological why of why they want to get in shape, rather than like, oh, I want to drop 20 pounds. And those women will pay you whatever you want, like in terms of if you can help solve that problem. In particular, the US I'm always shocked when I come here, because I landed in Miami and I was like, went up to the car rental place. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? It's like, you're like £400-500. So
I know.
Like, I don't see that anywhere else.
It's insane.
And that's where I'm saying that you have a big market of people here with a big problem, and it's just positioning that and how you frame it. Because like if you said to someone, look, it's $3,000 and I'm going to change your life and help drop £50 to keep it off, is that worth it? Yeah. Like how many years does that add to your life? How
it's so minimal. Yeah, the way that people look at this stuff is crazy, because they're like, $3,000, I'm not but then they're, okay, keep doing what you're doing then. You're going to spend $3,000 on probably anything else anyways.
And the way I'd frame it is that like we live in a world right now, there's more information than ever before. Like click of your fingertips on your phone, you can get any information you want. What people don't like need is information. People need implementation and accountability. Because most of us know what we need, particularly in weight loss, right? It's like we eat a bit less, move a bit more, you lose weight. The reality is we need someone like you who you can look up to, who like I'm going to buy into, but like, fuck, I don't want to let Annie down. Like it's the same thing for me in terms of having like business mentors. Like I was with a guy this week who's mentoring me, sold his company for like $150 million. And I'm like, just being around him, I'm inspired. And I'm like, fuck, I was like, I want to make him, I want to like prove a point to him so he tells other people how good I am. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, what was his business?
He drug addiction rehab clinics.
Oh, that's super popular. He lives here, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like where I live in Delray. That's like the number one spot for that. But yeah, so it helps to have mentors. Have you always had mentors with your business?
I've spent $300,000 on mentorships and learning, and that's why and this would be the same for you in terms of what you do with the fitness side of things, is like proof of concept. Like you do the thing, you teach the thing. So like I got in really good shape. I help other people do it. I built a really big business. I helped other people do it. I would never ask anyone to do anything that I'm not willing to do. And for example, you look about it from people from a business perspective, people like, oh, I'm not willing to invest a load in a mentor, but they want to charge high ticket prices themselves. It's like, well, you're asking your clients to do something you're not willing to do. Whereas like, I can say to our clients, I've spent way more than anyone else in terms of like my own personal growth and learning. And that's the thing you suddenly understand. For me, it changed my life when I was like 27, that I first got in the best shape of my life when I hired a coach. And I was like, this is really easy suddenly, because all I have to do is just do what they tell me to do.
Yes.
And I get the results. So I was like, where else in my life can I apply this? I now have 2 business coaches, a Spanish teaching coach. I have a speaking coach. I have like a personal trainer in the gym, just because it's easier. I have coaches for like everything. I'm thinking about getting a personal shopper to help me like coach me what to wear, because someone told me about this yesterday. I was like, it's a really smart idea. Like the more areas you can get expertise to help you, the less things you have to think about, and the better you become as a human being, like the higher your overall value becomes.
No, this is the thing, is like, you cannot do all of this on your own. Like, I think that's people are so stubborn. They're like, I can do my diet, I can work out, I can do all this. And at the end of the day, it's like, you can't. You can only get to a certain point of what you know. And at that point, you got to look outward and find someone else that knows better than you, that's been doing it for a long time and focusing just on that.
I'll give you some interesting context on a fitness point of view from that. It's like, the more you know, often I think the worse it becomes, because say like from a fitness perspective, I can justify in my head anything I want somehow and find a logical reason for it. So it's like, yeah, maybe I need to eat more calories because I'm training legs tomorrow, and I had a long flight and I'm slightly fatigued, and I am also like in a gaining phase, and like you can tell yourself whatever lie you want.
100%.
Because particularly when it comes to fitness more than anything, human emotion comes into it in terms of how you look and how you feel, which is why business is more of a logical situation. However, your emotions in business will still affect you, because if you're in a phase of like you've had a few sales call, people have said no, you're like a phase of constriction, you're scared, your actions will start to then follow that. And same if you're in a phase of abundance. I'll give you a good example. Like me to change my flights to go back a week later was $5,000 just to change the date. And I was like, this is retarded.
Got to make it worth it.
Yeah, I was like, this is retarded. I can't do it. And I was like, at the end, I was like, why have this money if you can't just do what you want? So I was like, fine, I'll just do it. And literally an hour later, someone paid me to join one of our programs. I was like, it's like abundance thing of like,
I love that.
It is true though, right? Because so many times I don't want to spend the money, and I'm like, I'll just do it, it'll be fine. Like you make the money back. And then like an hour later, someone pays me for something, and I'm like, well, there you go. And it's like
you got lucky there.
It's like law of
Everyone's
attraction.
like, I wish that happened to me.
It's like law of
that's
attraction.
True.
Like you put out in the world what you want. So if you're abundant with money, it comes back. Like if I see genuine homeless people, I generally tend to always try and give them money, because selfishly it makes me feel good. But I also think that some way that's going to come back in the karma ecosystem.
I 100% agree with that when it comes to everything. Even just telling people really good things and sending nice messages, I think that it does come back to you in some sort of way. And so going back to the money side of things real quick, you're talking about $1 million a month. I want to motivate people out there, because people think that $5,000 a month is not possible. So what is possible for someone that's like starting out, you think?
The fastest progress I've ever seen anyone make one of our clients, and it was like, I almost fell off my chair. He went from $0 to $52,000 in a month.
Fuck.
But I'll give you context is even better than this. It was in like December, I think I first spoke to him. I probably spent about 25 minutes going around in circles with him to join a program. He put the last amount of money on his Amex because he'd been screwed over by someone else before. I was like, dude, like, don't worry, this won't happen again. Like, we can help you. And he was obviously still slightly skeptical, but he joined. I didn't hear anything from him for a month. He booked in a call a month later, jumped on. I was like, how you getting on? What's happened? And he was like, I made $52,000. I was like, what? He's like, I made $52,000. And I was like, that's sick. And if anyone actually types Charlie Johnson, the guy's name's Tops on YouTube, it'll come up. I did a podcast interview with him afterwards. Guy literally just gave him what to do, and he just did it. And then, like I said to you earlier, where people sometimes, when they're from a fitness perspective, you know too much, you overthink things. Sometimes people do that in a business perspective. They they overthink the advice they're given rather than just doing. And a very true statistic, actually on LinkedIn, strategies in the top 3 things on LinkedIn is words used. Implementation is not in the top 1,000. So we get paid to execute and do stuff, not to just think about doing it. And too many people I see are like information junkies. They read the book, they do nothing. They listen to the podcast, they do nothing. They go to the seminar, they do nothing.
95% of people, maybe more.
Whereas like not reckless, but like messy action is what gets results. And I'll give you an example. I mentioned this recruitment guy this morning. We're helping him build a recruitment mastermind. And I was like, we're just going to figure it out as we go. There's no like set bulletproof, like, okay, we can do this on day 37, this on day 38. It's like I said earlier, pattern recognition. You have to adjust the feedback based upon what's going on in front of you. And that's this key skill, which is where business plans, in my opinion, aren't worth a huge amount. You need an overview of what we're going to do, but you can't be like day 31, day 32, day 33, because things change.
Too structured.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. Like people that listen to podcasts and read the books, they have lists. I've seen it. They have so many lists of things that they want to do. They're like, next week, this is my plan. And like none of it gets done because it's too structured. They make it too perfect and then it's overwhelming. And then things change like what you said, and then they don't end up doing anything. And I think that's the thing, like messy action, like what you said. I like how you put that because it is kind of like starting something. And then how is it going after a week? What do we need to change? What's not working? What is?
I'll give you one of the best examples of that where you learn very quickly is paid advertising. I've spent over $1 million on Facebook ads. So I would say I'm very...
Still?
Yeah. So I'd say I'm very good at running, not currently, but to date, I spent over $1 million, not a month at the moment. I'm very good at running Facebook ads, but I've learned that through the pain of losing a lot of money on Facebook ads. And in particular, I think for men, you tend to learn through pain and screwing stuff up. Which is why, like, I don't know, I'll give you an example. Men, like, drive a car really fast and they have a crash. Drive really fast and they have a crash. Then they eventually have a crash and then they learn. I think it's male psychology. But I think that's the best way you learn is from doing things and, like, taking messy action and try and figure things out. And then when someone comes in and is like, okay, cool, here's the blueprint of what you need to do, just start. Too many people are too afraid to dip the toe in the water and just begin. And they procrastinate so much about starting that the fear literally just like throttles them.
Well, and it's like if they have their own business and they're trying to transition to something else, it's like that fear of what's going to happen if I take time away from my main thing and then try to move to this other thing. But they don't even start it. And
then, but what I would say that is like it's a process, right? It's like you want to, say you want to become a marathon runner. You're not going to be like day one, I'm going to go run 26 miles today. It's like we're going to do. Maybe we do 2 miles today, and then maybe like in 3 days we do 4 miles.
Yeah.
Like everything is a gradual process rather than like people like the flip the switch analogy. It's like you can't do that in business, and you also can't do it in training fitness. Like if you try and go from no training to peak performance, you'll break yourself. And the same thing with your business. If you try and like go from one business model and you flip in like the next day to like, okay, I'm doing it in person. I no longer do that. I then do it online. It's retarded. And that's actually why, like from my own experience, I didn't leave my full-time job until I was earning about $15,000, $20,000 a month online. I was making double what I was earning previously. And then I was like, cool, I'm in a good place. Like, let's go. And that's why I say most people shouldn't quit their jobs when they want to start an online job. Like, start that outside of work, get proof of concept of some progress, and then you can scale it up. Because then what you can also do, which is what I was doing, the money I'd earn from my job, I'd reinvest into learning to figure out how to do it. Because you collapse the time horizon.
That is an interesting point because a lot of people don't, like they quit their job and then they try to do it and it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, now I've
because you've got no money coming in. Yeah, because you've got no money coming in, right? So like, if you're like, cool, so I have this job here that's going to give me food, it's going to keep a roof over my head, and it's basically going to give me like ammunition to keep shooting and figure this thing out. So then like, there's not any real pressure because you're not going to be homeless. Whereas I see people all the time like, yeah, I just quit my job, I want to become an online coach. It's like, okay, so have you started? Like, no, I'm just going to start now. I'm like, that makes no sense.
The thing though is like, if they're spending 8 hours a day plus driving home and showering, gym, whatever it is, 10 hours a day, just the work, their full-time job. It's like, how much time do they actually have left over to focus on it? And also, if you're not going all in, are you actually going to be super successful with it?
Then go all in to do what? Because I get people say that all the time. Like, I'm going all in. Okay, cool. So what are you going to do? They're like, I don't know. Well, that's the point.
I guess structuring an actual business plan and following through and trying to contact, I don't know. I mean, whatever the case may be for them.
And that's where I'd say like I say to anyone, you could build a fitness business that makes $10,000 a month in 2 hours a day. Like,
It's wild.
And when you do the right things. And I say that because I did it. I was working 8 till 6 every day with an hour commute each side. And I was also training for bodybuilding shows at the time. So
Damn.
like, and that's why people that haven't got time is like, well, I did it. So like, I understand it's hard, but like
You do.
you choose your suffering. You suffer now or you suffer in the future.
Okay, did you have a social life when you were doing that? Because I feel like one has to go.
I was married at the point.
Okay.
I'm not married anymore. It's not because of that, but and did I have to change my friendship group? Yes. Did I let things go? Yes. But I would also say for anyone who wants to be really successful, your friendship groups will change because they'll change. You'll naturally pull yourself towards people who you're inspired by, who you're motivated by, and your just perception of things will become different than the people maybe you hang around now. So if you want to achieve great things and you want to achieve maybe financial freedom and you want to achieve that for you and your family, then maybe the people around you right now, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's just they're not maybe the people who you're going to want to associate with who are going to fulfill that. Because what I've seen is that like the bigger the mountain, the bigger the shadow it casts. Like if you start to achieve a lot, you'll notice people will probably start to have digs about you working all the time or like trying to slow you down, right?
Those are the people that you don't want. Yes, I do think that like your relationship shouldn't be so time consuming. Like they should be able to help you with things or you can work out with them or like, you know, do things that you're already doing to grow yourself, your personal life, whatever the case may be. And they can kind of be included in that where it's not like you're taking 3 hours a day to go party with them and you're forgetting about everything else. So I agree with that. I think relationships are huge. And I want to talk a little bit about fitness. So you did bodybuilding competitions. Yeah. Did you do sports before that?
I originally played rugby at quite a high standard, so I did that. Football, I played like every sport, like ski instructor, like did everything. So like, I think in reality, almost the same as business. If my parents just were like, pick one, I could have probably been professional in that, but I was trying to play like every sport. And then I get to the level where I was like, I was good enough, and then I'll get bored and go do something else. But that's the same thing. But the same thing I see in entrepreneurship, right?
With everything,
100%, because it's the same thing for me now. And even at the start of the year, like we had a team meeting with my COO, and I was like, so basically the plan for 2024 is we do nothing else. We just do the things we're doing right now, but better and more of it. Because it's at that point where you have things that work, you just need to improve and refine them rather than our human nature is like, we're looking for dopamine hits. So we want to go red, shiny object, red, shiny object, red, shiny object. And when you start to like unpackage a shiny object, it's not so shiny, so you put it away and like, I'll go find another one.
Oh, it's relationships, it's business, it's everything. It's like when things get mundane, they get boring, they get a little bit hard and you're kind of just like, let's switch to the next thing. And I see that a lot with like people that are like in their 20s now and graduating college trying to find a job. They keep switching to these different things. They're like, I'm bored now, I can do something else. I'm like, no, like what you said, like refine it, make it better. What can you improve? What can you do that's going to get you to the higher level of the same thing? And I think that's key because if not, like you're just continuously wasting time.
You're just spinning your wheels. And I also think here's a framework I think about a lot. It's like, say, for example, I wanted to transition from the fitness industry to so like drug rehab clinics we mentioned earlier, right? Like, okay, yeah, I'm really experienced relatively as an entrepreneur. I know nothing about that industry, nothing about that niche. How am I going to compete against people who've done that for 10 years? Impossible. But people from that industry can't compete with me because my experience, what I've done with this. So it's like, you have to understand the longer you do something, the more you become a master of it, the more you understand all the nuances, the more maybe you have more of a network in that industry. So what you don't want to do is keep like bouncing around different things because you want to spend enough time in one thing to get really, really good at it. And then generally when you get really good at something, other opportunities come off the back of it.
Well, or you can teach other people how to do it, like what you're doing. And I think people freak out about this. Like this happened to me a few times where I was like, I'm going to do this until I'm 50, 60 years old. And I think that freaks people out too, or it's like the long-term like decision, I guess, of what they're doing and what they're spending their time towards kind of can freak people out sometimes. And that's when they're like, am I making the right decision? Am I in the right thing? And so what you're saying is just continue on and then get some other people to do it.
The way I talk a lot in frameworks, the way I think about it, like the opportunity won't appear until it appears. And like one vehicle, like business job, will get you to a certain point, and then you need the next vehicle to get you to the next point. So like, cool. So for me, it was like, okay, so my estate agent's job earned me a good salary, I earned good money. That was the vehicle to get me skills and become competent and not retarded. Because when I was 21, I was probably retarded.
We all were.
Like I said this in a presentation in front of our, we had a big event in Dubai recently. There was a guy who's in our program who makes $40,000 a month who's 20. I put a photo, I put a photo of me on screen at 21, like retarded. And I was like that.
How people now, I'm like, what the fuck, like,
But
kids?
respectfully, there wasn't the opportunities 10 years ago like there is now, the same.
It's so different. I think back then it was like, you need to go out and party with your friends. That's like what you should be doing. And now it's like, you're right, it's so different. It's like, no, actually I could be making money doing
100%.
XYZ and while partying at the same time. So it's
100%.
like, it's wild.
And I think that's though when you look at that of like, okay, cool, this is, for me, my vehicle was a state agency, got me to then become competent and understand things, like people skills, sales, everything like that. And then, cool, vehicle 2 was the fitness business. Vehicle 3 is now our like coaching business and business coaching mastermind. Vehicle 4, which I've finally got clarity on the last week, is I'm going to build a software business. So it's
I was
like,
going to ask you where
and
you
then,
want to
and
go
then
with
the
things.
goal is to then sell that eventually. So it's like,
And then you're set.
then you're done.
All right,
So
what's the
it's-
software business?
basically will be in the fulfillment space for fitness professionals and fitness coaches. So basically an all-in-one package with everything you need to run a fitness business. So that's the longer term play for us.
You're saying like apps that they can use,
everything
stuff like
apps,
that?
but more actually from not from like a client fulfillment point of view, but more from an operational standpoint, that like how I would want to run my fitness business. This isn't like we're doing it now, but in like the next 12 to 24 months, we have some software systems we're building at the moment that we're going to start selling, but we're going to rebuild something that's going to be a monster probably in about 2 to 3 years time. And basically that'd be the longer term vision for me in terms of what we want to do, alongside continuing like the consulting and helping businesses, because that's my passion, of like mental stimulation. And also you learn from doing, because why I love coaching is I speak to people and I get ideas because it's mentally stimulating. It's like a external stimulation. I think the more people can also understand that process in terms of the job I have right now, the coaching business I have right now, the PTing I want to do right now, it's just, this is to get me to here. And when I get to here, the next door will appear. Because I had no idea, like, I've never planned any of this. It's just sort of like, I've gone along, got really good at one thing, focused on that, and it's like, cool, this is an opportunity, let's go do this.
Have you always had a vision though? Because it seems like you had a vision that you wanted to chase.
I had a vision, a cloudy vision. I wanted to be really successful, and I wanted freedom to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. But I didn't know how. But I took the first step, and it's like every step I took, like the next like stone appeared for me to step on, and I just kept going. And it's just,
Was it by yourself? Did you have someone helping you?
by myself. And that's why I say now it's easier for people, because there's more people who've like walked the path you can emulate to some degree. And I've emulated other people, but not from our industry. So true story. I remember I actually put a screenshot of this on because I found it on my phone. It was 2016 in May. I was driving around my Mercedes car in Surrey, like really nice sunny day, and I was like between viewings. I remember I got into the car, turned the car on, podcast came on that changed my life, and it was one by Grant Cardone about sales, about basically if you don't learn to sell, you'll always be poor. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, so all I really ever focused on in that phase was just learning. So I was learning my job. I was listening to Gary Vee as well a lot about like,
He's great, yeah.
so Gary Vee for content, Grant Cardone for sales. It's like traffic, sales, cool. So like that's a process, and that information is out there for free. The information I give out is for free. This podcast is for free. There's never been a time in life you can't Google like Elon Musk interviews, speeches. You can listen to the greatest people in the world for free whenever you want.
It's just like you're taking the action, whereas other people are not.
Yeah, and it's the way I was crippled by anxiety a lot at the beginning, but I used the anxiety to make me take action to do something about it. And the way I explain how I feel now is this is probably the first time last 3 months I haven't felt anxious in my life, like super anxious. People think that I don't get like that, but like anyone who knew me from 3 or 4 years ago, I was like on edge a lot. But now the way I frame it is that I'm paranoid in the present, but I have unbelievable belief in the future. I'm paranoid because things go wrong all the time, but I'm paranoid because I'm looking for like, where's the next iceberg that's going to appear, so I can steer myself and my businesses around it. Whereas But I also know in the future, there's no way I'm not going to achieve what I want because I've got momentum.
Okay, so that's the thing, because a lot of anxiety is being afraid of things that might happen, that might go wrong, that haven't happened yet. And you get anxious about the thought of that. So your framework now, because I think a lot of people deal with anxiety, I do as well, is knowing that things are going to be okay and you're going to get through it and you've shown yourself that you can, right?
Well, and that's, for me, it was like, I'm going to stack so many wins. It's like undeniable belief that I can do this. And whether that's in business or whether it's like fitness or whatever it is, you have some area of your life you're successful. If you can be successful there, you can be successful anywhere. And I think something to think about is that for you to get to where you want to be, if you're in a position right now in life, like everything's comfortable and this feels easy, you're not growing. Because if you're in a position like where you feel like you don't know what you're doing a lot of the time, that's growth season. Like I feel like that all the time. It's like, I just said I want to start a software business. I have no idea how I'm doing it.
See, I love to hear
but I'll
this.
figure it out. Because I feel like the whole time, I'll give you another example. I mentioned earlier, I was like looking on YouTube about how to set up something in Notion. We're moving all of our operational stuff onto Notion. I have no idea how to use it. Moving 30, 40 people onto it. Like our team know how to use it. I don't know how to use it. It's like, I'll figure it out. Like you have to learn and be okay with like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm an intelligent human being. And most of us have a huge superpower we don't realize. And it's because we're distracted. We're on our phones. We can't actually be present. And I'll give you a hack for anyone here and the listeners. One of the things I do when I'm at home in Dubai, I don't look at WhatsApp, Slack, Instagram, Facebook before 2:30 in the afternoon. I use an app called Opal. So what that allows me to do is to think really clearly and then also be intentional with what I'm doing rather than being reactive. So I'll go train first thing in the morning. I'll come back and I've got a block of time where I can build my businesses. I can work on myself. I'm not being reactive to, Annie, WhatsApp me. I need to message her back later. Because like, I'll give you an example. If I open my phone in the morning, there's loads of messages, and then I go to start work, there's something called cognitive residue. Part of your brain is processing, I need to message Annie back. I need to message Troy back. I need to message all these people back. I say that now, I need to message these people back from earlier. It takes up part of your brain, right? So the more you can have your brain running at 100%, the easier life becomes.
Okay, so you have a routine in the morning that you follow, which is gym, you eat. What's next? Do you have a plan, that like a planner that you're writing down that we need to do?
So I have like a 3-hour block where I'll do more complex work stuff or film YouTube videos, make trainings, work on some Facebook ads or whatever it is. So the greatest gift I can give anyone on this podcast is plan tomorrow today. So like tonight, I'll write down, okay, cool, what are the 2-3 things I need to do tomorrow? I'll have them in that space, because then you're not like waking up like, what should I do? Like most people spend too long trying to figure out to do, and it's like decision fatigue. Whereas if like you wake up and like, cool, so say I'm Annie, I'm like, I need to write X client's program, I need to do this piece of content, I need to message this person, I need to confirm this sales call, like whatever it might be. And that way life becomes very easy. And I found I actually like 3x my productivity because I was just like fully present on the thing in front of me.
Does it stress you out when you don't get something done that's on that list that you have planned?
I've gotten better with that because a lot of things sometimes are complicated, or like I'm trying to learn something. So I don't know how long this is going to take. And it's okay being okay with that. And also understanding that you're better off just doing the best you can. And cool, I can continue that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's because for me, like I'll write out like, okay, YouTube, like so many things on a list. And I'm like, I only got one of these done because it took like 3 hours.
Okay, you mentioned that. So do you know, one of the reasons why the human brain is run on dopamine. So one of the reasons we write lists and we like to knock things off is a dopamine release. It's like post on Instagram, tick.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, like reply to messages, tick. It's like
the easy shit.
Yeah, but the easy shit doesn't fucking make any difference. So it's like when I say I write things down, it's like, okay, I need to film this for our Facebook ads course. I need to like complicate stuff that's not like I did the thing I was supposed to do anyway.
Yeah, we like to do that first. We're like, oh, we feel so good. We got half of our list done. And it's like, wash the dishes.
Because it makes you feel accomplished.
Yeah.
And the more you can suddenly align with doing high leverage tasks that have a big impact rather than like the bullshit that doesn't really make any difference. Because as human beings, we naturally get pulled to the bullshit of like, quick, I can post on TikTok, post on Instagram. I've done loads of work now, I'm good. Rather than like, we all know there's a difficult thing that we need to do that we're like, oh, I don't want to do that, so I'll do it tomorrow.
100%. All right, so you've nailed down tasks, important tasks first.
But the thing is, like, I still get that all the time. And I catch myself fobbing things off. And then I'll give you the best example of this ever is our event 2 weeks ago in front of 200 people on stage. I was like giving a presentation on like basically a lot of this. And I was saying, I showed my calendar, and in the calendar, because I was making it at the time, was a screenshot of like Write Mastermind presentation. I procrastinated so much over writing the presentation and making it that only took me an hour, that thought process probably took longer than me actually just doing this. Because I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week. Rather than if like, one of the best sayings one of my dad's friends said to me, who was super successful, was just like, do it now. Like if it's important, just get it done.
100%. Yeah. And I think that is one of the main things that people struggle with, is pushing it to the next day or the next few hours. And they're like, I'm going to feel better then, and then I'll do it then.
But I think that's, whereas human beings, sometimes we tell ourselves a lie of what we want to hear. You know, a bit like I said about me when I coach myself for fitness, because I'll be like, yeah, I can do that. Fine. Which is why accountability from someone like you as a coach or me as a coach is so important, because you're like, yeah, I don't want to be called out and look like a retard.
That is so true. I mean, even coaches need coaches. And I think that's one thing people don't realize. Like, I feel like I need a trainer half the time just to like get me through it and to not have to think about it, to take the thinking out so that you can focus on other things.
I'll give you a good question. What percentage of time do you want to work out?
45 minutes a day.
Yeah, but what percentage? How often do you want to work out? Do you like
you turn up
to work out like 100% of the time? You're like, yeah, I definitely want to do this, or like 50% of the time?
Oh no, I never want to work out ever. Like maybe once a week. I am in the mood to. Other than that, I'm like, I hate this, but it's almost like brushing my teeth now. It probably is for you too. When you start at an early age and you do sports,
what's exciting
like,
in you?
This is just but this is just like normal. It's part of the day. I have to just do it, you know. And so I don't think about it anymore. But do I want to do it? Never.
But what you've identified there is like you have the ability to do things you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And everyone here probably doesn't want to brush their teeth, but they do it because it becomes habitual. And you're like, I don't want to be weird and have terrible teeth. So the reality is the same thing with other aspects of your life. If you can teach yourself to I am going to identify being the type of person who goes to the gym. I'm going to identify being the person who does what they say they're going to do in their business. Like that's a really powerful tool, because once you can do the things you don't want to do, everything becomes very easy. Yeah.
So what is your diet and training like now?
At the moment, I train like a 5-day training. I've actually gone back to more of like a bodybuilding split. So really basic and a lot less volume than I've ever done, but made more progress. So I do like maybe 4 exercises, 3 sets of each, but higher rep ranges, like 15 reps. And I've made more hypertrophy progress doing that than ever before with less weight. Which is counterintuitive in terms of like what I would do when I was younger, because it's like, let's put as much weight on as we can and see what happens. And then from a nutrition standpoint, I'm actually listening to my body a lot more. So I'm supposed to be eating around 4,000 calories a day, but if I don't want to eat, I don't eat. And what I mean by that is if I'm really stressed with work, I don't want to eat. And if I'm just feeling like my digestion's slow for whatever reason, I don't want to eat. Like I won't force myself to, because where I see a lot of people run into problems, particular guys or anyone who's looking to try and maybe grow or eat more food, you try and push your body to do something, it'll push back.
Yes.
You tend to get digestive issues.
Inflamed,
yeah. 100%. And same thing in training. It's like the last 10 days I've been here in Miami, I've had like a bit of a deload phase because I felt annihilated from a big event we had. I've been training a lot. Long flight here, jet lag. So I was like, okay, we're just going to take it easy for a week or two. And sometimes it seems counterintuitive that doing less equals more. But this is sometimes where you have to also understand your own personality. I'm a bit of like a blunt force guy, right? So like earlier I was like, we do a YouTube video every day. So it's like, I could just go and make myself train every day, and there's not an issue with doing that. But I know that's not the optimal way to do it. But that's also why you need a coach to then not tell you, like, so you're not lying to yourself. Because I could very easily be like, yeah, I just need to train twice a week and then be like lazy, which is why I also have people coaching me. So a lot of time it's more of a second opinion and validation of what I think, to make sure that I'm not just leading myself down the garden path, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but do you think it's because you built a base before? Because I feel like now, like with my clients, for example, if they don't have a base, they need to be lifting heavy and be very regimented. 100%. So it's like...
And what you said there is such a good question. So, and even I would say like what I do now in terms of work and how I work and operate isn't how I could have operated at the beginning, because the demands are different. Same for someone who's looking to get in great shape. You're not going to need to take a week off after you've been training for 6 weeks.
Yes.
And like your training intensity is not going to be that high, and you're not going to be that strong that it's going to cause that much of a problem. So it's always going to depend. And I'd say for most people that the people who won't listen to their body need to listen to their body, and the people the other way around will. So it's like you're probably the opposite, which is why I actually think that women need to train like men and men need to train like women. Like I said, like I'm training lighter and heavier, higher reps. Women need to train heavier weight and less reps.
I totally agree with that. But I think it is like a combination. Like for me before, I used to go as heavy as I could for like 5 reps, whatever. And now it's like, instead of working out for 2 hours, it's 30 minutes. I can take a week off, nothing happens. And I do a lot of like lighter weight, more cardio now just to maintain because of that base.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's been no change. If anything, I feel better and I feel like I look better than before.
And you probably feel better is a big thing, right? So you're probably not waking up feeling like my knees hurt, my back hurts.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's not a fun position that you mentioned at 27. So like, that's not a cool position to be. Like, I remember before, like when I've been training really heavy for a lot, I'd get in a car and I sit down and my knees just hurt from sitting down. And I'm like, if I'm getting this in like my 30s, what's this going to be like in the 50s, right?
Yeah. That's how I felt all the time, like walking down the stairs, my knees would be killing me. I mean, also in sports, it's very different. You feel like that all the time. But when I started training less, which I was always afraid to do, because I'm like, I'm going to gain weight, I'm going to lose muscle, whatever. I feel my absolute best and I go to sleep easier. My appetite's more regulated. I'm never inflamed. I don't deal with chronic bloating and stuff like that. And it's something I can actually maintain now, which is amazing.
But that's what you said there. The important thing is maintain, because that's the goal of like, I see too many people trying to go too extreme with things to get quick results, but then they're ultimately shooting themselves in the foot. So what do I mean by that? Is that, for example, if you look at women, a lot of women I've seen will crash diet. They'll go to like 800 calories a day out the gate.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. So you can lose weight really quickly, but then in 6 weeks, what are you going to do? Because you can't take your calories down anymore. Like, and then when you start to eat more, you start to gain weight again because you've screwed up your metabolism. So that's why, for example, for you even coaching like a lot of women, this is the big thing to understand to people is that yes, we can get you quick results, but it's also making it a process that this is something you can do longer term, not just for the next 12 weeks.
Yeah, fitness is your entire life. That's the thing. Like you always are going to want to feel good, be healthy, look good, whatever, you know? So you have to keep adjusting things to where it can maintain with your lifestyle, which will change. Your lifestyle will always probably change. And that's when you actually have to adjust your diet, adjust the training to fit that.
And the way I frame it, it's a bit corny, but like rent is due every day. Like if you don't go to the gym or you don't eat right, your body falls apart. If you don't, same with the business. If you take your eye off the ball with your business, the business will go backwards. No matter what team you have, no matter what goes on, like you have to turn up every day. Like whatever success you've got to in life, you still have to keep doing the things that got you there. Because if you stop, then it's going to go backwards. And I think that's, I mentioned earlier about being paranoid in the present. That's probably where some of that comes from, because I know what happens and I've seen other people screw things up. And you even see like big businesses. You look at things like Blockbuster that went bust. Because I missed
that place.
Yeah,
it was so cool. Fun going in there.
It was cool, but there's a lot of like Kodak, like other big businesses, not really like being mindful of what's going on in the market, who are massive, gone. So it's like no one's too big to fail, and also like no one's in too great a shape to like get out of shape.
It is so easy to get out of shape too.
100%.
If you stop for, I don't know, a month, 2 months of being like just sloppy with it, you are going to look completely different probably, and you're going to feel like shit.
What I find with this is, I don't know if you've ever found this, is it's weird. Like, particularly if like I'm going to go into dieting phase soon for the summer. When I get really lean, I get away with it for like a week. I'm like, cool, so I can just eat what I want for a bit. It's like, and I get away with it for another few days, and then suddenly it's like you've gone way too far and you can't get back.
I know, same. I know.
But
you're like cheat
overnight.
meal after cheat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're like, now I'm like 7 pounds heavier. I need to actually go back to strict diet and training now. It's like, it happens quick. It's true. And that's the hardest part, is like you think it won't, and then you hop on the scale, you're like, oh my God, what did I do?
And I think that's also what you mentioned there, scale, that a lot of people are afraid to scale, but it's a metric to track to see what's going on. It's a bit like the way I've never said this before, but the scale is like the scoreboard of weight loss. Like money is the scoreboard in business. So it's like, as long as you keep your eye on the scoreboard, you know whether you need to push harder in business to make more, or fat loss if you need to like put the cheesecake down and like eat more sensibly a bit more, and then the weight will come down.
And I think once you get to where you want to be, because people are like, oh, but the scale will change when I build muscle. But like building muscle takes a long time. It's not going to change 5 to 7 pounds. Like it doesn't work that way. And I think people look at it like that. They're like, oh, I'm building muscle. I'm like, no, you need to cut back a little bit.
The amount of times I've had someone say that to me, I'm like, dude, it's not muscle. It's like,
no,
it just doesn't work like that and work that quickly. So I think people need to understand the scales don't lie, no matter how much you might want to lie to yourself, or like your mum can give you an excuse for whatever reason, like your arms look a bit bigger, like, Or like my wife said my shoulders look bigger. I've heard that one from clients before. I'm like, dude, you look the same. You just need to be brutally honest. And I think that sometimes the best fitness coaches I've ever had working with me were like proper harsh on me and brutal. And I was like, for me, I responded to that well.
Same.
But I would also say in terms of for anyone out there who's looking for coaching for fitness business or whatever, try and find someone as a coach who you think can resonate with, who maybe you want to be like, because that's something that then you're going to get buy-in from.
And their lifestyle that maybe is somewhat similar to yours. Because I find it hard with like clients that have like 3 kids, 4 kids, and they're also have a full-time job. And I'm like, it is hard for me to relate to you, but I'm trying. But I think it is helpful. Like I've had some clients that have gone and trained with women that also have kids and are trying to manage all these things, and they relate to them and they can listen to them almost a little bit better.
But I think that's then is your gift as a coach, is then breaking things down simply so then they can be executed. And I think particularly in fitness, there's more than one way to skin a cat in terms of an analogy, because there's so many different ways to get in shape. It's just which one is the best for the person in front of you.
Yeah. That's the thing. The same with exercises. Like you can do whatever workout you want that's maintainable, that you like. There's a million ways to do it. It's just, again, what's going to work? What's going to be maintainable? What are you about to say?
You can tell I smiled because it just made me think of the last 6 months. I've gained more muscle mass than I've ever done before. And am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
And it's like the least I've given a fuck about like before I used to be super anal about like I have to use the same machines, I have to track everything, I have to log everything. Now I just have a guy who I train with who just like annihilates me, and then I go home and eat, and I sort of eat more intuitively to how I feel. Like sometimes after training legs, I've literally this is a picture for anyone. I'll be in the passenger seat of a car with like the fucking seat back, sunglasses on, like basically passing out on the way home after training legs sometimes, and I end up going home and having to sleep for like 20 minutes. And then I eat a load of sweets to get some sugar back in. Yeah. And it's like completely not really logical to what you should do, but it's the best progress I've had because it's the basics that work.
To go eat candy.
Yeah, it was quick sugars, right?
Only if you can.
Yeah, but it's basics of executing basic things really well rather than like, what's the moment arm of this machine? Like I see so many people in particular the fitness industry politely masturbating to like the angles of machine, almost getting like the protractor out to make sure the angle's right so they can hit their lat. And like, dude, you're like 150 pounds, no one cares. Like,
that's so true. Like it's so dialed in for some people.
It doesn't make any difference. And this is where like if you look at streamers in life, right? If you look at some of the best bodybuilders in the world, like I'm a massive Jay Cutler fan, and I watch his training videos. I'm like, how the fuck does that even work? But like, dude, jacked, and it's like one of the best bodybuilders in history. And like, a lot of the time, it's more like we said earlier, it's the application and the execution rather than the perfection.
That's like, well, bodybuilders, they're trying to chase perfection and get dialed in. So they want like every single inch to be worked in a different way. And also they probably get bored doing lat pull downs. So they're like, how can I make this different and make me feel like I'm doing something better? I don't know.
It's funny you say the word bored, because I said to you earlier about being enjoying training. Yeah. That's the phase for me now. I've done this for so long. It's just like, there isn't anything, there's no more nuances of,
I know.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Which is actually, I'd say for anyone listening to this, if you're relatively new to fitness, enjoy it because the start part is the most fun. And I'd actually say for business, like the start part is most fun. And you might not believe me saying that now, but like you building your online business, like the start is really hard. But when you get success, it gets easy and you have different problems. And I look back with really fond memories of like the really hard times when I started. I used to work in like a shed in my garden, and it was like -5 outside. I had no heating, I had like a hat on, and I look back like it's a funny story, right? But it's true. And I look back now and I was like, that's dope because I did that, and like I'm smiling about it because it's cool. And it's the reality is you should enjoy the fun parts of the business at the beginning because it is really fun, and you have a lot more excitement. Like when you first sign a big client, you first get like client success, like because you start to believe, and when you believe that like blurred vision you have starts to come slightly more clear.
Well, I'm motivated now. I love that story. All right, we'll end on that. Where can they find you on social media and all your stuff?
Instagram, the best place to check me out is Charlie Johnson Fitness. YouTube would be Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems, and we've got a podcast which is called the Physically Jacked and Financially Stacked podcast. Anyone also likes fitness, we have a fitness podcast which has 400 episodes called The Shredder Show.
Nice.
With some of the biggest fitness people in the world as well.
Amazing. I'll put all in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. Leave a rating and review and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching it here. And I'll see you guys next time.